Hi, my name is Lori Ballen, and I am sharing an authentic, true story with you today in an effort to inspire, to empower, to uplift. Share this with whoever it is that you think needs to hear this. And I think it's important that we know that we are not going through things in life on our own, that other people are experiencing the same things and that other people have survived them and made it to the other side. It's been a while since I've told the story, and so I think it's important today as I am reflecting on the newness of the new year and all of the good things that brings with it. I always reflect back on changes and where I've come because I have to, at least for a moment, remember to celebrate the success and the achievements. And being a very goal-oriented person, I quickly forget. I move on to the next thing, and I have to constantly remind myself of how far I've come. And I think that that's an important story to share. So this video specifically is going to be a story of bounce back ability, of starting over, of reinvention. And there's probably something in this story that you can relate to, or you know somebody that's going through something. And I think I want people to understand what life can look like. Okay. Let me just share with you today, starting off, I'm a really, really happy person. I have a lot of, I don't even know if happy is the right word. I'm a very joyful person. I have a lot of joy in my life today. I have a lot of peace in my life today. I have what feels to me like security in my life today, freedom, choices. Those are all super important. I wake up every single day motivated, excited, ready to start the world. Okay. I tell you that because I want you to know, starting off, where I am today versus where I came from and what it looks like. I started off one of four children, and my older sibling, I have an older sibling, a younger one, and we're only a year apart between each one of us. And then I have a brother that's 8 years younger. I grew up pretty middle class. I would say we were pretty average. We didn't have a lot, but we didn't really go without either. We were the kind of kids that had portion controlled dinners, where there was a certain amount you could eat. You could have one bowl of cereal, you could have this. So it wasn't like we had a lot of extra, but it wasn't really that we never went hungry either. My mother was super hardworking. She did not do great with men, so she had many relationships and struggled severely with depression. And so we were raised from the moment I can remember in a very chaotic household with somebody who was extremely, extremely depressed. And she will tell you to this day that she would have rather not lived. So it was an interesting thing for us children immediately to, for me personally, it was, how do I keep the peace in this household? How do I make things right for her? How do I make sure she has things good? How do I keep the brothers and sister calm? And let's make sure we have the dishes done and the house clean. Let's not upset mom, And again, this was something that is out of her control. My family has a long, long history of depression. We have suicides just galore through multiple generations. My mother's father actually committed suicide when she was younger, as did many of his siblings. So this is a chronic thing in our family. So we were just kind of raised with it. Well, I myself did really, really well in school. I was naturally academic, and that was a great place for me to be, was away and at school. And at home, just trying to keep everything good and nurture that as we moved on. I very early on became much of a person that liked to control my environment and what's happening in my world. My mother was married a few times and had relationships in between. As many people went through, we did have an experience where my sister and I were sexually molested as children. I'll share that with you. Just the wrong guy at the wrong time being in the household. And that was to no blame of anybody else, but it did happen. And that, let me just tell you that changes you as a person. You're changed forever. There's a lot of people that have gone through this. And that set the precedent for my relationship with men after that. And my own self-esteem, self-worth, all of that kind of issue. Our father left when I was a baby, wasn't around. So I had zero trust in men. Let's just say that. But by that point, it was like, yeah, that's not a whole lot of trust. And after that point, every man became a father figure type scenario, So I graduated. I went through school, high academics, and then got involved in relationships when I was a teenager that weren't great. And at 16, I actually dropped out of school and moved in with a boyfriend. And this boyfriend was terrible, terrible, bad news all the way around. Extremely abusive, extremely put me down all the time. Cheated on me in the house. I was supporting everybody. Everybody lived in the house. I was supporting on my job, and it just completely took advantage of me 100%. And at one point, actually, was really kind of like losing his mind, and was super abusive. And he told me to call my father to come get me. And his plan was to kill my father. And when I called my father, he called the police and showed up. I tried to run for the door, got out, almost got out. The guy dragged me back in by my hair. And then it became a hostage situation. So now the police had permission to go in, and they couldn't get in before that. But once they saw that, they knew it was a hostage situation. So eventually he wound up, he had a gun and knives, and it was locked me into an upstairs bedroom. The cops came in. It took 3 cops to get him down because he was so drugged up, and got me out of that house. And that was just a crazy, crazy time. After that, I moved back home for a short amount of time, did not like being there, and met a guy, married him a couple months later. So I was 17, got married, and spent several years in a very, very depressed state, depressed marriage. Well, as much as I believe I loved my husband and we were really good playmates, we were also very codependent. He was an alcoholic. I didn't have any problems with addiction at the time, but I was definitely codependent on the moods and the relationships, and really struggled with depression. And he was in the military. He went away for a while. We're trying to have a baby during this time period. And eventually I did get pregnant. I was 21 when my daughter Sabrina was born. And 2 months after I had Sabrina, my husband comes home and says, I don't want to be married anymore. I never saw it coming. Never, ever saw that coming. I couldn't believe it. And I just remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday, carrying my 2-month-old baby in her car seat, just devastated, watching my mother pull up to come get me and the baby to take us home. And it was just the worst feeling in the entire world. I became suicidal myself and was really barely functioning. I took care of my daughter well enough. I kept her safe. I got a job. I walked her to and from the babysitter 5 miles every day, back and forth. But it was a machine. It was just motion. It wasn't even like I was living. And I was just so devastated and depressed. And what was I going to do now? I didn't even have a driver's license. I don't know how to drive a car. I'm not skilled for anything specifically. I had dropped out of high school to move in with my boyfriend. So what am I going to do? So I was working at a car wash. And I always had this kind of marketing nature, by the way, inside my whole life. I always had that that kind of a skill set, but I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I met my second husband in a bar, and it was somebody that was not somebody I would ever normally be attracted to, but my mother pointed him out, and for some reason she had a vibe or something, and she wanted me to go talk to him, and I did. We didn't get along at first, and then a couple months later we started really talking, and then we started dating, and we got married in the first year of dating. A pretty normal process anyway. And then we went through he was another alcoholic, so I did that twice. And also we began gambling, and this was a challenge my parents had as well. So coming from addictive behaviors, my biological father being alcoholic, and then my parents having addictive behaviors as well, I did not realize how much I would be triggered by those same types of things, because I'm not naturally vulnerable to the dark side, you know. I didn't do street drugs. I wasn't doing drugs in high school or anything like that. Was never a big drinker, so I didn't think anything of it, but I did end up falling into my own addictive gambling behaviors. And my ex-husband that I happened to attract in a bar at a casino, gambling, imagine that, also had a problem with it. And so together we were pretty codependent again, and pretty dependent on each other's, you know, when the other one was falling, the other one followed. And when it was good, it was really good. And when it was bad, it was really bad. And we ended up building a business together with his natural skill set towards sales and my natural skill set towards marketing. We actually launched a business and did really, really well. And we made millions of dollars. We lived in the big house. We had the big pool. We had the cars, the fancy cars. We had all the trips and vacations and things like that. The challenge was we only had that stuff because we made a lot of money. We gambled everything in between. So we were never able to get up to speed very, very long. At one point, we had stocks, we had investments, we had business assets. And over time, that as things started to change, we would burn through those, and then we'd rebuild real fast because we knew how to make a lot of money. It was just this constant cycle. Very, very bad codependent relationship. So as we sold our company at one point, and at that time we had $2.3 million total in assets and liquid cash, in liquid assets. And then we just kind of moved into the casino for a couple of years because we were retired. We sold that business. What are we going to do now? Type A personalities. And we basically blew through everything. And then there we were. I was in my 30s now, and he's in his 40s. And we're like, we got to get a job. What are we going to do now? Like, we had this company. We didn't do well. We didn't manage our money well. And you know, you can laugh and scoff at it all you want, or put judgment around it, but you know, addiction's addiction, and it's like it's a disease, and it catches you off guard, and it's worse when you're with another person that has addiction as well. And so we got into real estate, and that was his choice, not mine. I followed in, but we got into real estate, and we quickly, first year in the company, we were top agents in the whole company. We were, you know, doing very well for the times. And again, we were still gambling. So it was really hard to get things to add up. We were not paying our taxes because we were just, you know, it was one commission check to the next commission check because of our disease and what we were dealing with at the time. And in 2016, after 25 years of marriage, I guess in some ways you can say it was a mutual decision. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it, I guess. I left, he served, he served the papers. I'm the one that left. It was a matter of, just, I think, complete depletion of all those years, just being completely exhausted of the challenges and of the race and of I had gotten to the point about 2 years prior, well, more than 2 years prior, 2010, I really wanted a different life is when it started. And I started saying, no, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to gamble. I was addicted to prescription drugs, really addicted to prescription medication by that time, and almost died on multiple occasions, almost overdosed on multiple occasions. We had our fourth daughter. He had two from a previous marriage. I had one from a previous marriage, and then we had one together in 2013. And I was just kind of looking at I'm in 2003. Sorry. I was kind of looking at, I want to be a better mother. I'm just so tired of being tired. I don't want to feel bad anymore. I don't want to lose everything all the time. I feel like we could have more life if we were to focus on good and get really disciplined and get ourselves healthy and focus on positive things. And so for me, I went on this journey of repair and restoration and recovery and how do I do this better? And although he somewhat went along that path, it wasn't the same. And so we ended up just kind of going like this, and not good or bad on either one of our parts. I wanted this life and he wanted that life. And it just got to a point where we said, we can't do this together anymore. We're going to destroy each other in the process of each of us wanting different things in our lives. So it just became a thing where, okay, we just need to do this. And I'll tell you, after 25 years, that was hard. That was really, really hard for me, going, oh my gosh, I'm 45 years old. I'm single again. I don't know how to be single. I've only been in serious relationships and got married at 17 and then at 21. I don't know anything else. What I did know was that I had a really solid, income from my businesses that I had built. I had built a couple businesses, and I had enough of a solid income to know that I could feed my daughter and that I could go get a place by myself. My car was paid for. I did not have a lot of money in the bank. I know people have watched me over the years, and they've assumed that I had certain things, but they may not have known what else was going on. Like I said, it looked like I had a lot of money. I had the house, the cars, or whatever, but I was actually really struggling because of the gambling. And that wasn't something we just talked about. That was like something you just didn't put out there. That was our own condition, so nobody realized. And let me tell you, gambling, I mean, I've won $100,000 in one night, and I've lost probably close to that much in one night. So it wasn't just like tinkering. This was some serious gambling years, And so I got out on my own, and let me just tell you about the addiction recovery really quick. It was 2009, actually. 2009 it was that I decided to change all this. And I checked myself in. I actually had an insurance card, and I turned over the insurance card, and I did not even realize that the blinds were coming in at me. I called the number on the back of the insurance card and checked myself into a rehab center. And I remember them saying, we're going to take your shoelaces. Don't bring anything that we're going to have to lock everything up. Don't wear a belt. Like, it was the most foreign thing to me you could possibly imagine to hear this. And so I drove myself to the place, and at the time my ex-husband and I were separated. I remember calling him saying, come get the baby, come get the little one, because I'm going to get help. And I checked myself in, and it was a nightmare. It was a terrible place. I would not recommend this particular place to anybody ever again. And I came out of there as drugged up as I went in, I think, because of the medication they put me on. So when I chose to leave there, I actually stayed home for a week and completely detoxed. I just went cold turkey by myself, sicker than a dog, got off it all. And then once I very slowly started coming back to life and started being able to breathe again. And it's so weird. You can't even possibly imagine what it's like to go through addiction recovery when it's drug related, because you really seriously, the world looks different. The colors are different. The tastes are different. The emotions are different. Everything in life has a different look, feel, and energy when you're on drugs, everything. So when you come off of it, you have to go through this. You peel it off in layers. Like the world starts coming back in layers. It has all of these sheets on it, and one by one, each layer starts coming off, and suddenly you can see a little clearer, and you've got a little more energy, and things feel a little better. And I'll tell you, for me, the one of the biggest things coming off the drugs was flavors. It was weird. Like all of a sudden, everything tasted so good. I wanted to eat everything. The drugs hide your pain and hide your emotion, but man, they also hid my flavors, because all of a sudden I was like wanting to eat everything when I came off of that stuff. So I also was a big time cigarette smoker. So I smoked like 2 packs a day. And I got off all of that 6 months after. 6 months after I got off all the prescription medication, I went cold turkey on cigarettes. And I remember the day that I did this, I had just bought a carton of cigarettes like 2 days before. I had ashtrays, I had all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I am just going to walk out the front door, meet the garbage man at the door, and give him all this stuff. And I don't like strangers. This was a big deal for me to walk out to meet the garbage men. And so I threw everything in a garbage bag, and I walked out there, and I stood there and I waited for the garbage man to come, because I knew that if I did not get rid of that stuff, I was going to continue to smoke it. And so I said, let me just walk it out and get rid of it. And then after I quit smoking, same things, flavors, more flavors. I did like juice. I did a lot of apple juice and grape juice, and for the first 2 weeks. So I was like juice drunk for 2 weeks and felt great. And then I had to figure out what life looked like without smoking, right? I had to break that habit. And I'll tell you that going through the addiction recovery and going through all of that is actually what really changed me. I don't believe my ex-husband ever changed at all, not an iota. Like, other than the fact that he kind of didn't want to work anymore because he was getting I don't know what was going on with that, but everything else was me. He was the same guy he was when we got married, but I no longer was the same person, and I didn't want to live the same life, and I didn't want to go down. I wanted progress and growth and better life. So I had to make those choices. And one of those choices meant I have to leave this home because it's toxic for me. And I can't stay healthy and sober, or I don't want to use the word sober because I even still drink occasionally from time to time. But if I'm going to stay healthy and in the right frame of mind and not depressed, which I was really struggling with depression, I need to get out of here. I'm going to have to go build my life in an environment that fosters good and health and this positivity. And I'll tell you the truth, the day I left, I was hoping he would follow. I was hoping he would do certain things that did not happen. And so it was just, it was done and over. And then I had to learn. And that first year, this was 2016, it was October 2016. That whole next year was about the divorce, because now there's court battles and there's fighting and there's all the ugliness of what a divorce can be, was ours. And custody and figuring all that stuff out. And so that first part was just that. Well, what's very interesting, and I didn't even realize it, was I was not grieving during that process because I was fighting during that process. And it was easier to be angry than it was to be sad. And I just focused everything I had on building my businesses, keeping money going through the household, caring for my daughter because I was the sole financial support. And I have multiple family members that work for me. So my care was on, let me keep everybody alive. And I did not have money, even though people have heard other stories. It's not true. My brother charged all my furniture for me. And then I just started rebuilding. I did not, when I left my home, I didn't take anything with me except for my bed, not even my mattresses. Wait, no, I took my mattresses only, my mattresses, not the bed frame. And I took my massage chair that I had bought, and then just some trinkets and little stuff and some basic dishes. But most of everything I just left and I started over again. And then, then it was interesting. I spent, and I love to share this story too for anybody that's going through a divorce or that went through a divorce. I would not do anything different. I feel like this is one of those things in my life that I feel like I did everything right. I really took the high road. I gave as much as I knew to do or could do. And I never, ever felt ashamed or bad or negative during this process. I also made sure that my home, even though small, because I moved into an apartment, with all of that history with gambling and taxes, I couldn't just go out and buy a house. And so I got a little apartment, and even though small, I made it as zen as I possibly could. Water fountains, and I purposely picked the apartment next to the pool that backed up to the waterfall because I wanted to sit out on that patio and get the energy and calm from the waterfall, which was such a great decision for me at the time. The colors I picked in my home were intentional. The shapes were intentional. And I really just set this like Zen, like spa type home up so that I could heal. Because after a divorce, let me just tell you, you're either fighting or you're healing. And there's no both. You're either fighting or you're healing, and you have to get from one place to the next. And if you continue to fight, even after your divorce is over and you're fighting everything that happened and you're fighting the process and you're fighting what's going on, you can't heal. So the day I remember distinctly, I have a pretty big social media following. And I remember putting out on social media because everybody watched this divorce happen. They knew both of us. A lot of people did. And it was painful for them to watch because it was, they knew both of us. And I was really expressing pain throughout the process. I didn't attack, but I expressed my own pain. And so they all went on this journey together. And I remember the day, it was just before the divorce was all going to be final. I went on Facebook and I said, hold on, I'm just hearing somebody at my door. I went on Facebook and I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done crying. I didn't say I'm done crying. I'm done with this conversation of I'm getting a divorce. I knew at that point that was the past. I was divorced. So I was no longer going to talk about the process of divorce. And I made that statement very clear. And as much as I put it on Facebook, I was telling myself in my own head, you're done. You're done with this conversation. It's time to heal. Now's the time to move on. And let me tell you, things got really, really dark after that. You may not want to hear this if you're getting ready to get a divorce, but it got really bad, really dark after that before it got better, because now the grieving process kicked in. And for me personally, I was not grieving. Somebody's at the door. I'm going to ignore it. I was not grieving the person. I was grieving the future. I was grieving for the future I thought I was going to have that I no longer was going to have. I was grieving for being a couple, being two people facing the world, not just one person facing the world. The partnership, the relationship, like that, I was grieving that very much because I very, very much like to go through life as a couple rather than as a single. And so I had to go through that process of letting all that go before I could get to the next level. Now, during that year, this was 2017 to 2018, I was calm, quiet, reflective, but I did not dwell on the past. I didn't let myself keep going back there to divorce. I talk about the fact that I got divorced because it's part of my life, but I didn't let myself go back to remembering things like, and I'll tell you, when I left that home, I didn't take anything with me. I didn't take my wedding albums. I didn't take my bouquet of flowers that were shadow boxed. I didn't take anything. I did not bring any memories with me besides what's in my head. I left everything there. He sold my stuff, got rid of my stuff, whatever. I just couldn't. I didn't want to ever look back. I wanted to just go forward. And I don't regret that decision. For me, that was the right decision. I just needed to move forward, and that's what I did. And so I had no negative energy in my home at all. I didn't bring anything with me. It was all just good, positive energy. And then I really focused on rebuilding my businesses quietly. Like what I rebuilt my real estate team because we kind of took that down in the marriage when the marriage was going down. And so I kind of put my model together now. What do I want my team to look like? How will this make me happy? How can I help other people make money and me make money without this grueling task of going to the office every day and trying to rebuild it and trying to build this team again? So I did that, and that was really a positive thing. That was in April of 2017. So that felt really good to put that back together and get that some momentum. And I got that churning some business again. And I don't go out and sell myself. I lead generate, but my team does, and that was good. And then I started moving my marketing company forward. We began developing real estate agent websites and building out these WordPress websites for real estate. And then we started adding pay-per-click marketing and blogs and content. And so that started growing, which was really nice. And that increased my income, of course, because that started growing. And I just kind of lived right there in that pocket. I stopped traveling. I stopped training. I stopped making videos. I just kind of went just like a cocoon. We all call it a cocoon. Everybody that saw me do it, it felt like a cocoon. I just needed to heal and be safe and be, that for a little while. And that was all of 2017 to 2018. That whole year was just that. And it was so nice. So nice just to go through just this peaceful. I mean, I can't tell you, I wish we as human beings would do this for ourselves without something causing us to reset. I wish we would just do these resets by choice. How do we take care of ourselves for a little bit? How do we love on ourselves for a little bit? So then 2018 came along and I started adding in a whole bunch of new self things. So I started getting massages. I started getting facials. I'm doing personal vacations with people that I love and care about. I really started focusing on myself. And on January 1st of 2018, I also went on a fitness and wellness journey and shed 50 pounds in 6 months. And I could not have done that as well as I did if I hadn't, I think the year before set me up for success because I was so calm and so ready for this change. And I had taken the time to get better. And then I was able to go out there and just charge ahead. And as 2018 started developing, I started kind of rising back up. And we say this is where I got my wings. The butterfly got her wings because now I'm out of the cocoon and I'm suddenly more creative than I've ever been. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. I'm fit. I'm more fit. I sleep better. No depression whatsoever. None of those dark days. I don't ever have those days anymore. My mood is balanced. It's like such a cool place to live. And when you're like that, the world just opens up and delivers. Like it's yours for the asking, for the taking, for the whatever. So this year I started some more projects. I started affiliate marketing. I actually started doing affiliate marketing years ago, but now it's enough that I can live off of. And so now I have this new focus with that, building these niche websites and as publishing platforms to sell advertising space. And I love that niche and I'm focused on that. Still have the real estate company, still have the marketing company. And my weight loss success with the ketogenic diet was so successful that I became a certified coach and overnight made $10,000 and took on 100 clients. And that has been rolling monthly ever since then. And now I also work with one-on-one clients. So I started the group program with 100 clients, then started taking one-on-one clients. So that was like a miraculous gift. I can't even explain how that just fell into my lap. It was so incredible. And then this year, as a seventh stream of income, I also got involved with Monate, which is a network marketing company that specializes in anti-aging shampoo and hair care products. And that is giving me all new life and energy and fun. And I get to build teams and help these other people be successful and create opportunities for them, which feels really cool. And I get to use my teaching talents to help teach them, and my coaching skills to help guide them and bring them up in their business. And I'm also coaching on life, business, divorce, health, fitness, just all kinds of really. I will tell you that my primary focus in life is mindset, more than most anything else, and that applies to anything you're going through in your life. If you can learn to look at things differently. One of the biggest changing moments for me when I was getting my divorce, from that really dark time where I almost headed for that suicidal tendency. Things got really, really dark, and I was starting to go, I don't even want to live the rest of my life because I'm just going to get old by myself. You know, I still get choked up because that's still a pain point for me. But I had to stop and go, you know what? It's all about how we look at this. I can look at the fact that I had a 25-year failed marriage, or I can look at the fact that, you know, I'm here now and I'm healthy and I'm fit and I have choices and I have freedom. And actually, I can look at myself and go, I survived that. I survived that in spite of history and backgrounds and addiction and sexual molestation and abuse and I survived that. I'm not going to look back on that now and make myself sad and feel bad about those things. No, I'm going to go forward and say, I have a choice. And let me just tell you, for my secrets, there's no secrets for staying happy and joyful and out of addiction. And you're never really out of addiction, but I'll say free right now from it, from those temptations and binds and things is I also very, very much control my environment. So for me, it's mindset and it's environment. Who am I around? Who's influencing me? What TV shows am I watching? What podcasts am I listening to? How am I learning and growing? And I won't spend 5 minutes with a negative Nancy. No, I can't. And that includes family members. If you know, misery loves company, you're not taking me down with you. I can't do it. So I will control my environment and make sure that I'm only surrounding myself around people that truly love me, care about me, are going to lift me up and support me. And I'm going to do the same for them. And that those people care about themselves enough to lift themselves up and care about themselves. Because if they do that for themselves, I know that they're a safe person for me to be around. But if they're destructive, addictive, negative, you know, they don't want to work. They don't, you know, the worst is the victim. If they're a victim and they feel like, oh, poor me, everything happened to me. My wife left me, my dog left me, and all I have left is this country song. If that's their mentality, I can't do it. I cannot. I can love them from afar, but I cannot be in the same room. There's a reason why I don't go to the office every day. You know, I need to be in those kind of safe environments. And I learned that about myself, that I am a people person. I actually am. I have an incredibly social personality. And I have adapted to not do that, to not be out there, because it's safer. And I'll choose who I go hang out with and be with, because it's going to be safer that way. So, you know, I think life is about not settling. It's about knowing how your own values, knowing your own, what you're worth, and controlling people and places and things that that are only going to add energy to what you already are doing, and then you should be adding energy back to what they're doing. I'm excited now. I'm kind of in this place where next level's here, and I've gone through the 2 years of since I left my home, 1 year divorce, 2 years since I left that home, and I'm now starting to. I'm going to use the word forget, because it feels like as this time is happening, I'm already not, the things yesterday don't feel as familiar. Today feels more familiar. And that is the pivotal point when you're starting over from anything, from addiction, from losing a job, from moving, getting divorced, all of these things. There's this moment when you suddenly find a new familiar. And that is when you know everything is good, is when you're living in the new familiar. This feels more comfortable than anything that was in the past. And now I feel like there's newness coming in. There's change again. There's movement again. There's new businesses. There's new people. There's new energy. There's new relationships. There's new responsibilities. And I will just continue to move into those, keeping the same self-awareness that I have that has gotten me this far. And I expect it to be incredibly lucrative, the things that I'm doing now. And so I just need to keep myself in check and balanced as I'm moving through these new opportunities and new businesses, and continue to make sure I'm only surrounded by those people that are also seeking growth and positive things and wonderful things. And if you're in that situation right now where you're facing divorce, or you're struggling with addiction, or anything in your life that just feels bad, you just have to know that there's so much good on the other side that you probably can't see, that you probably can't imagine, because things are so heavy right now. But just take this one little grain of hope and know that it can and will be so, so much better. The trick is, make sure you control your environment, get your mindset right, change how you look at things, and take massive action. And you can have the best life possible. I 100% believe now, at 47 years old, after losing a 25-year marriage, that I am living the best life now. Even single, even by myself, even after going through all that. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change any of it. This right here is where I'm supposed to be. And it feels really, really, really good and strong and healthy and positive. So keep working towards that next level. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you letting me tell the story. And I hope that it touches you or helps you, or that you can pass it on to that person that you think needs to hear that there's something better on the other side. Talk to you later.